Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. Recently, you guys know that I had my drives completely destroyed. I lost a lot of data, I lost a lot of episodes, and it kind of just put me in a place where I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to do any more podcast episodes for a while. I'm just going to live offline a little bit more and do a bunch of things. And in that time, I've experienced quite a bit of things. I put a full intro here just so that, you guys could be welcome back to the podcast in a nice way. Luckily, I actually put some more effort, and I remember talking with my sound mixer DJ person primarily through one platform, and through that platform and messages, I was able to find the Google Drive that we had everything shared on. So I didn't even remember that was there. So yeah, I picked out this intro. I found some of the intros. Some of my other requested intros, I don't think they're there. So we use multiple platforms. And then there was one intro where we used like a WeTransfer or whatever, and that expired. So I don't even remember what that intro is. But we have the OG intro, we have the conspiracy intro, we have this winter intro, as well as another winter intro. We got the reggae intro and some others. So I'm going to be playing around with more of the intros. This is more of kind of like a welcome back episode. And hopefully, you guys had a good new year or a good 2024 in general. I think the learning experiences that I got from 2024 was you never know how things could turn out, right? And it's made me really think that this year is a year I'll either A, be consistent in one thing, which I've made an episode about, or just really try out a bunch of things. I am getting older, kind of like everybody else. I've seen other people reflect on their age, and I've been tuning into the Diary of a CEO, and it's helped change my mindset a little bit on being more active in life and taking a few more risks, right? Recently, or even if you spend a little bit too much online, there's a lot of discourse against dating, against having children, uh, just wars on genders as well as lifestyles. The biggest highlight was a CEO actually dying recently. Whether this person actually is the person responsible for their death, um, it's really gotten people to think about the disparity of the rich and poor, and with the wildfires happening as well in LA, which, maybe I'll do a full episode on that, where people are assuming that it may have been started on purpose, and it just shows how desensitized everybody is to an extent, because a lot of people do not care because the people are rich and they could buy everything back. But my take on it is, wherever you live is like your safe space, and I'm using that word because I can't think of anything else. But somewhere where you feel safe and something happens in it, it doesn't matter what your status is. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how reputable you are. If that place gets invaded, it's not gonna settle with you, right? So it's been an interesting browse online, and even me recently, I just kind of want to go offline. Maybe the only online thing will be this, to mildly communicate with the people who've been waiting for new episodes. Um, Also, I got the information from my Instagram account. So now I could actually post on that account because all that information was locked on my old phone, which was barely working as well. I've been really thinking about responsibility and what true effort looks like as well. And I've been introspective as well. Recently, there's been a lot of roller coasters at work, and I got moved again to an area that I didn't really enjoy just because it's not as active, right? But at the same time, there's people who've been leaving my company due to being in a place where it's too active. And it kind of like made me think, am I a person who just thrives in chaos, or is that what lights up stuff in my brain, you know? Um, Going back to the CEO of a diary, the Diary of a CEO. My bad. I'm gonna keep that in because this is a fresh episode. It just made me think of the episode of like there's an episode of talking about dopamine and everything too, and it goes to think about like how people live. This is my perspective on it. It's like how people live or how people have lived, right? A lot of people want to judge people because they're in a certain situation, and I was talking with a friend about another person and their views on things, and it really puzzled me. But going through that experience where it's like, wow, I really can deal with a lot of chaotic things, and then like when I'm in peace I'm bored, and it's like it's not me going out to cause chaos so I'm not bored, right? But in a chaotic an environment I just way more active. And is that a reflection of the trauma that I've dealt with in life? So I can like revel in a very or a potentially toxic area, or an area where you're always paying attention because there's just so much going on, right? Is that a reason why it seems that I don't know how to relax in some types of situations, right? Obviously, I'm a relaxed person when I want to be, and it's not like I'm overly like angry or something like that. It's just the thought of having a boring life, like a completely boring life, those old sitcoms where every day is cookie cutter, right? I don't know if it's the life for me, but at the same time, why can it be the life for me, right? And it goes to the topic of this episode, and I think I'm gonna start doing stuff like this where I'll have more of a talk about different things that are going on, and then go to the main topic of the episode. Because if I tell you about the topic and you're not interested, you'll probably just like take off, But at the end of the day, thanks to the 5 Views gang. Hopefully, we get our 5 views and we wrap it up this year as well. Maybe I'll do a challenge and do like a 52 episode challenge. But also, shout out to Dalton. He's another big reason why I went out to search to see if I do have any of these files anywhere. Because guess what? That's going to be the first guest episode of the year. Unfortunately, I actually lost a couple of guest episodes that I didn't get finished editing. So those are going to be lost files forever unless I could actually recover anything from this drive. Like, I lost a terabyte of fucking data, guys. It fucking sucks. But you know what? It is what it is. But the talk of this episode is like, what motivates you, right? And all those kind of examples made me think about like, what really motivates me. Recently, what I've been doing on this time, I think in one of the episodes I talked about starting going to the gym, and I've been in the gym, at the gym, active since last August. So August, September, October, November, December. Now we're in January, right? I see some of the changes, the body changes, how I feel about things. And what really motivated me to go is that I have a community of friends going to the gym, right? That's the one barrier. And I'm going to talk about like levels of motivation and like tiers of motivations, or how you could branch one thing to another thing. So I'm going to cosplay this year. I already have a 3D printed mask for the character that I wanted to be. And anybody who knows me for cosplaying, I like to be in the shape of my character, which has caused me to gain weight for that character, as well as going to the gym. So the next couple of months, I want to start going harder in the gym because I want to have that body shape. Even recently, I took I didn't take my shirt off, but like I took my sweater off at work, and someone saw my arms and they're like, "Whoa!" And it was amusing because like I'm the type of person, I would say that I have like a sleeper build, right? A lot of people try to, not a lot of people, but some people, just because of how I might act, they assume that I can't do this or I don't do this or whatever, right? I made a joke about going to the strip club after bowling, and like someone almost fell over because I mentioned the strip club, right? And I think that's a really good thing to know or to use. So this is advice for people, especially if you're at work. If you don't want people to know the type of person you are, I'm not saying that I'm like I'm a deviant, go to strip clubs every night, and soliciting ladies of the night. No, I'm not saying that. But if you want people to see you in a certain way, act that way and try not to act any other way. If you can maintain that, right? Like I have a pretty strong work persona, and if I was to list off a bunch of the things that I've done, I could probably have a ton of people at work argue that there's no fucking way that I would do that. And I think that's the best way to manage your work life, especially if you're a person who wants to have a kind of private life, right? And I think things like that motivate me because, especially like when basketball season comes around, which is soon, right? And that's another reason why I've been working out. So that's a second tier of motivation, is because I want to play well this year, whether my team does well or not. That doesn't matter. It's something for me, right? And that's the third part of the motivation. It's just like I like a challenge, kind of like the story that I mentioned earlier, right? And having to go to the gym for potentially like a year to make sure that I'm in the shape that I want to be and do everything is a bigger challenge. And I'm putting all of these small things together. I've mentioned this in older episodes. Not everyone's seen every episode, but it's just the tiers to get yourself to where you want to be, right? And for me, there's do or not do, right? For a good chunk of things. Unless I don't want to cross a line, I'll be there. But my intention for this year is to be more forward moving, similar to the past, like the past, right? I still think I need to get diagnosed for some type of condition or whatever. Whether I get diagnosed or not, probably not, because I don't think I care enough to go see a doctor. It's like, oh yeah, you may have this condition or that condition. I'm not talking about like a health crisis thing or STD or something like that. I'm talking more of just different things, right? I've talked about in older episodes. I don't want to stir too long on that, right? But whether you are diagnosed with something or not, it doesn't change the fact that if you have that willpower, that motivation, those foundations to grow to what you want to be or what you are trying to achieve, you have to get there, right? And like I said, I'm going to be a lot more intentional. I think I need to put certain things to an end, right? And I have been, where people have been shocked with maybe how I carried myself, because I usually carry myself in one consistent way. But when I am more of that other way, a lot of people are taken back, but sometimes you need to shake things up to shake people up because they don't understand that you might be a certain way because you choose to be that way or because of the circumstances that you've gone through. So you like people need to recognize that that's what it is and nothing else, right? I'll just give you an example. For me is I wake up and I think that I choose to be a nice person every single day, right? Or not every single day, but I choose to be nice overall most days. Do I have to be nice? No. No one has to be nice. No one has to be nice to you. No one has to be nice towards you. You know, there's just people who are grumpy all the time, mad all the time. And that's whatever way they've been grown up or raised, or it could be a cultural thing, right? But that doesn't change the fact that it's a choice, right? A lot of things are a choice, right? You could almost say everything's a choice, but then we'd have to argue semantics on how you were raised and the conditions you were born into and blah blah blah. But everything afterwards is a choice, and we need to make better choices as we get older. And the older we get, the less choices we get because we don't have that freedom of. I can't find a right word for this, but I would say that younger people are judged about certain things differently, even though you feel the effects a lot harder when you're younger. But when you're older and you're up to the same things, you may or may not get as much recognition, or um, it might be looked down upon a lot more. So, for example, if you're under 18 and you have certain crimes, you get a slap on the wrist, right? For the most part. But if you're older, there's no way you could steal like a loaf of bread and you'll go to jail and that's on your record for life and you're a felon, or I don't know how it works. I'm not a felon. I don't have a criminal record, right? But the point of that example is that it's escalated, right? Let's say you make a science project as like a 45-year-old woman compared to being 12 and doing that same project. If you were a 12-year-old girl, you know, everybody would be like, oh, wow, you're so smart, blah, 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 right? But at 45, they're expecting you to have that type of knowledge already. So it's not seen as a big achievement or whatever, right? It's kind of like those kids who make donations for something and it becomes a big thing, right? And realistically, I just think that's how people view people, right? A lot of people don't view children as smart or as organized as older people, so it's seen as a bigger achievement, or maybe it's just the sheer will, right, of someone younger. It's like you could be doing anything else, but you're choosing to help like homeless people or disabled people because certain things happen, right? Some of the social networks I'm on, there's a thing called, I think it's like Dose of Society. I know I'm giving like free promo to all this stuff, but I still think they're interesting, and whether I'm paid or not, I think they are good things to potentially consume because a lot of stuff online is demotivating, right? And you want to keep your head in the space of motivation, right? I've noticed that, especially in the last couple of months, no pun intended, but it kind of feels like a pun as well. I have been consuming more in general because for the weight that I need for my character to visibly show as well as just media in general. And it's been weird to stop and reflect and think about how much time has been used on that when I could look at the minimal time that I've spent at the gym, whether you call it minimal or not. It's like half an hour to an hour at the gym 3 days a week since August, right? And that's let's say that's potentially 3 hours a week, right? Up to 12 hours a month. in the gym, and I could see the physical changes. I could feel the physical changes. Other people could see the physical changes, and that's only 12 hours a month. So think about how much time you spent online or doing other things. Are you seeing the progress, right? Does progress motivate you? Does comfort motivate you? What are you going to do to achieve these things that you're motivated to do? Just to wrap things up, because we're not at the 25 minutes mark, but we're already past 20 minutes, which is pretty good for a return episode. But last year I started playing League of Legends again. And every season, me and my friend, we choose to try to go up at least one rank, and we've been able to do that. And recently a streamer went from like iron to plat. If you don't know League, it doesn't matter, but the point of this is that they got from the lowest tier to like the medium tier in a short amount of time, right? But at the same time, they are a streamer, so they get money and they have that sustainability to go for that. And that was actually really motivating, despite how they how they're still playing and the judgments of others. They still managed to hit the goal, and it all came from one instance years ago, and that pushed them to do more things and get them to a higher level, because they wanted to show people that I can do this, right? And I think a lot of people have to relearn that, especially when you've been broken down, right? A lot of people like to spend time and stir on the past that is never going to come back. Nostalgia bait is a big thing as well, where people are like, oh, remember this? Remember this? You're always going to be in a time where you're like, remember this. You're going to complain about your current life right now. And then maybe 5 years from now, whether it's better or worse, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I remember 5 years ago when A, B, or C was happening. I'm seeing a bunch of stuff on Snapchat, just talking about this was 5 years ago and this was 7 years ago. And I'm thinking, holy wow, time's flying by. And that's a thing that happens for people as they get older. It just seems that time's moving faster. I don't know what the phenomenon is called, but it's generally interesting. But even with this knowledge, we still tend to fall into certain traps, which is interesting, because that's just, I would say that's just how humans are, and it's oddly strange. But at the same time, just because something happens to someone else doesn't mean it's going to necessarily happen to you. And that's how people kind of justify certain actions until they're in a similar situation, which it's a true thing. But at the same time, there is the evidence for it, right? So we need to figure out what motivates us, what's slowing us down from our goals, and what we need to remove from our life to get what we say that we want. And that's gonna be the cherry on top of this, because some people have a goal, but if they were to get it instantly, they'd realize that it's not what they truly want. So I hope that this year everybody here finds out in 2025 or the years to come what they want to do and how they're going to get there, and whether they're the small things or something super big. Hopefully you find something to settle on. Either way, guys, hope you like this episode. Take care.